Captain Alex Reed stood at the edge of the landing platform, watching the massive palace rise above the alien city of Valera. The sun glinted off the tall crystal towers, sending shards of light across the plaza below. Flying vehicles moved in, patterns he had never seen, while the citizens of this strange world watched him with cautious eyes. He had traveled across the stars to this place as humanity's first official ambassador, but he already felt the weight of their scrutiny. Valera was unlike anything Earth had encountered. The planet's people were tall, elegant, and moved with a precision that made Reed feel clumsy by comparison. Their language was musical, full of tones that seemed to dance in the air. Reed had learned some of it during his journey, but he still relied on a universal translator for communication. The palace doors opened, revealing guards dressed in silver and deep blue armor, polished to a mirror shine. They moved in perfect formation, weapons held at precise angles. Red felt a pang of nerves. These were not ordinary soldiers, they were the Queen's Guard, the elite protectors of Queen Alara herself. Every citizen knew of their skill and their strict code of honor. No one outside the palace ever approached the Queen without their approval. A woman stepped forward from the line of guards. Her hair was tied back in a tight braid, and her eyes held a fierce intensity. Reed felt a shiver. She radiated authority without needing words. "Captain Reed," she said in perfect common, the universal tongue, her voice sharp and firm. "I am Serena, leader of the Queen's Guard. You walk among us unguarded. You challenge our traditions. Simply by being here?" Reed straightened his back, giving a polite nod. "I come in peace. I mean no disrespect. I am here to represent humanity and to learn from your people." Serena's eyes narrowed. "Intentions are irrelevant. The law of the palace is clear. Any outsider walking in the Queen's domain without testing their honor must face the ritual duel. By tradition, I challenge you." Reed blinked. He had expected political tensions, perhaps debates or discussions, but a duel? He quickly recalled reports of Valera's customs. The duel was not meant to kill, but it was dangerous and a matter of honor. Refusing it would insult the entire royal family. Accepting it meant testing his skill against the strongest warrior on the planet. "I accept," Reed said calmly. His heart pounded, but he kept his voice steady. "Show me your way." A murmur spread through the assembled crowd. Guards exchanged glances, whispering among themselves. Reed noticed Queen Alara standing on a balcony high above, her eyes calm but alert, watching every movement. She said nothing, but Reed sensed her curiosity. The duel was scheduled for the next day. Reed spent the evening walking through the palace gardens, trying to understand Valera's customs. He noticed the careful symmetry of every plant, the way fountains sang in perfect rhythm, and the presence of guards even in quiet corners. Valerans valued discipline above all else. That night, Reed trained in his quarters. He was a soldier, but his fighting style was human, direct, unpredictable, and adaptive. He had never faced someone like Serena, who had trained her entire life in alien combat arts. He ran simulations in his mind, imagining different scenarios. He studied the palace's layout, thinking how the duel might use the terrain. He wasn't just fighting for victory. He was fighting for trust, for diplomacy, for humanity's place on this world. The next morning, Reed entered the arena, a wide-open space in the heart of the palace. The crowd of guards and nobles filled the stands. Serena was already there, standing perfectly still. Her posture alone exuded confidence. She bowed slightly in acknowledgement, and Reed returned the gesture. The duel began with a simple exchange of moves, each testing the other's reflexes. Serena struck with fluid, precise motions, forcing Reed to retreat and adapt. He could see the surprise in her eyes when he countered with a technique that was human in style and orthodox. Unexpected, but effective. Minutes passed, and the duel grew more intense. Serena's movements were fast and calculated, while Reed relied on instinct, timing, and quick thinking. The crowd murmured in astonishment. Humans were known for ingenuity, but rarely had they been seen in combat on such a scale. Reed could feel the respect building, even in the eyes of the Queen's Guard. At one point, Serena launched a rapid combination of strikes, aiming to push Reed back. He anticipated the pattern, dodged at the last moment, and managed a move that caused Serena to stumble slightly. For a heartbeat, silence fell over the arena. Then a low murmur of approval passed through the crowd. Serena recovered instantly, her expression unreadable. She adjusted her stance, her eyes locking on Reed with renewed focus. He realized that this duel was as much about character as combat. Honor, courage, and adaptability mattered as much as strength. Reed's respect for her grew, even as he prepared for the next exchange. As the sun climbed higher, the duel ended not with a final strike, but with Reed standing firm, unshaken, and Serena lowering her weapon. She stepped back and knelt briefly. In respect, a gesture that surprised everyone. Even the Queen inclined her head slightly, acknowledging the outcome. "Captain Reed," Serena said, her voice quieter now, almost admiring, "you have proven yourself. But remember, this is only the beginning. Respect must be earned every day, not just in a duel." Reed nodded. "I understand. And I will earn it." As he left the arena, the guards whispered among themselves. A human had faced Serena of the Queen's Guard and survived. Not only survived, but earned respect. Reed could feel the eyes of Valeera on him, a mixture of curiosity, skepticism, and admiration. That evening, he stood on the palace balcony, looking out over the city. The stars were beginning to appear, twinkling above the alien towers. He knew the challenges ahead would be even greater. Diplomacy, trust, and honor would all be tested. But Reed also knew one thing clearly. Humans were not weak. On Valeera, he had already begun to prove it, and somewhere in the palace, Serena was watching him, thinking not as an enemy, but as a warrior who had finally met someone worthy. The first step had been taken. The duel was over, but the story had only just begun. The morning sun bathed the palace arena in gold as Captain Alex Reed stepped forward, his boots making soft thuds on the polished stone floor. The stands were packed with the Queen's Guard, nobles and curious citizens, all eager to see how a human would fare against Serena, the leader of Valeera's most elite warriors. Reed's heart beat steadily, but he remained calm. He had trained for this moment, and he knew that skill alone would not be enough. He needed patience, strategy, and courage. Serena entered the arena with fluid grace, her armor glinting in the sunlight. She carried no weapon yet, relying on her hands and unmatched agility, eyes locked on Reed, challenging him silently. The silence in the arena was thick, broken only by the soft hum of energy shields around the stands, a precaution the palace always took during duels. "Begin," Serena said, her voice clear and commanding. Reed nodded, taking a defensive stance. He was smaller than she was, and he knew brute strength would not win this fight. Instead, he relied on speed, intuition, and his human ability to improvise. The first strike came fast. Serena lunged, her hand moving like lightning, aiming to touch Reed's shoulder, a symbolic strike in Valeera's dueling tradition. Reed sidestepped, barely keeping his balance. He noticed her style immediately, flowing, precise, almost like a dance. Each movement had a rhythm, a pattern. He had to break that rhythm without exposing himself to danger. He took a small step back, letting her overextend slightly, then spun to the side, tapping her lightly on the shoulder. "Ass!" It was a small victory, but it earned him a nod from Serena's silent acknowledgement that he could match her skill. The duel escalated quickly. Serena launched a series of rapid attacks, testing Reed's reflexes. Each time he dodged, he observed her closely. Humans were unpredictable, and he used that to his advantage. He threw an unexpected feint, a quick low kick, and it caught her. Off guard, the crowd gasped. Valorans were not used to such improvisation. Their training emphasized control and repetition. Reed's style was chaotic to them, but effective. Minutes passed like hours. Sweat dripped from Reed's brow, but he refused to show weakness. He could feel Serena's respect growing with each exchange. Her strikes became sharper, faster, but also more cautious. She was learning from him as much as he was learning from her. At one point, Serena changed tactics. She moved back, circling him, her movements almost hypnotic. Reed realized she was testing his patience, trying to predict. His next move, he remained still, breathing evenly, waiting. Then, with a sudden burst of speed, he moved forward, anticipating her step, and tapped her shoulder again. This time, it was a stronger, more confident strike. Serena stumbled briefly. A collective murmur rose from the audience. Serena recovered. Immediately, her face calm, but her eyes sharper than ever. She adjusted her stance, her hands ready. "Ow. You fight well, human," she said. "But this duel is not only about strength, it is about honor." Reed nodded, understanding her words. Honor in Valera was not simply about winning. It was about demonstrating courage, respect, and integrity. Every move, every reaction had meaning. He focused even more, moving with precision. But keeping his style unpredictable, the duel continued, each exchange growing more intense. Reed noticed the subtle shifts in Serena's balance, the tiny pauses that indicated her next move. He adapted quickly, using human intuition to anticipate her strikes. He realized that this duel was a conversation, a dialogue between two warriors. Each action spoke, each counter answered. Finally, after a long series of attacks and counters, Reed saw an opening. Serena lunged with a complex combination, aiming to end the duel with a symbolic strike to his chest. Reed stepped aside, caught her momentum, and lightly tapped her shoulder with the back of his hand. It was not forceful, but precise, and it signaled the end of the duel. Serena paused, breathing slightly heavier than before, her eyes meeting Reed's. For a moment, there was silence. Then she knelt briefly in respect, gesture rare among the Queen's Guard, reserved only for those deemed worthy. The crowd erupted in astonishment and applause. Reed stood still, his expression calm, but inside he felt a surge of pride. He had not only survived, he had earned the respect of Valera's fiercest warrior. Queen Alara watched from her balcony, her face unreadable, but her eyes bright with interest. She had seen countless duels, but this one was different. The human had shown skill, courage, and honor qualities she valued above all. Reed had demonstrated that humanity was not weak, not unworthy of Valera's trust. Serena rose slowly, her posture erect, and stepped toward Reed. "Captain Reed," she said, her tone quieter now, carrying a hint of admiration. "You have fought well. You understand our ways better than most outsiders ever will. Remember, this is only the beginning. Respect must be maintained, not just earned in a single fight." Reed bowed slightly, returning the gesture. "I understand, Serena. I will honor your ways and your trust. I will not disappoint you or your queen." As the crowd dispersed, Reed noticed guards whispering among themselves. Their eyes held surprise and a growing respect. Human had matched. Serena of the Queen's Guard, a feat few could achieve. Reed felt a sense of connection forming, not just with Serena, but with the people of Valera. He realized that duels were more than tests of skill. They were bridges of trust, ways to prove oneself worthy of friendship and alliance. Later, as Reed walked through the palace gardens, Serena approached quietly. She did not speak immediately, but her presence was calm, observing. Reed felt no hostility now, only curiosity. They walked together, exchanging stories of training, strategy, and experiences. Despite their differences, a bond began to form, a mutual understanding between two warriors from different worlds. By evening, Reed stood again on the balcony, gazing at the alien city. The stars above Valera sparkled like diamonds. He thought about the duel, about the lessons he had learned, and about the future. Challenges awaited him, larger and more dangerous than this first test. But he had proven one thing: humanity could rise to meet any challenge, adapt, and earn respect even on a world far from home. Somewhere nearby, Serena watched him once more, a subtle smile on her face. The duel had ended, but the story of trust, honor, and growing respect had only just begun. The morning sun reflected off the palace towers, casting long shadows across the Valera gardens.
Captain,
Alex Reed walked slowly among the flowering paths, still feeling the echoes of yesterday's duel. The memory of Serena kneeling in respect stayed with him, a reminder that earning trust on this alien world required more than words. It required action, courage, and honor. Reed had expected suspicion from the Queen's Guard, but he did not expect the quiet curiosity that followed him everywhere he went. Guards watched him as he passed, some whispering to each other. Citizens peeked around corners, trying to catch a glimpse of the human who had bested Serena in the arena. Reed smiled politely and kept moving. He had learned long ago that humility was as important as skill. Serena appeared suddenly beside him, walking silently on the smooth garden stones. "Captain Reed," she said, her voice calm but firm, "I see that you move among us without fear. That is good. But respect is earned every day, not just in a duel. It means to face challenges beyond combat." Reed nodded. "I am ready, Serena. Show me." Serena led him through the palace corridors to the outer defense sector, a place he had not yet explored. There, a group of engineers and guards were gathered around a large control console, faces tight with worry. Reed noticed that the palace's main energy shield was flickering, leaving parts of the perimeter exposed. "The shield controls are malfunctioning," Serena explained. "If the system fails completely, the palace will be vulnerable. Repairs require precision and courage. Many here are afraid to try, fearing the punishment if they fail. We do not ask outsiders for help, but today we have no choice." Reed approached the console, scanning the complex alien interface. His training as a soldier included technical knowledge, but he had also worked with human engineering teams in extreme conditions. He smiled lightly. "I think I can help," he said. Minutes passed as Reed worked alongside the Valeran engineers. He guided them with patience, showing them how to reroute energy flows and recalibrate the shields. He moved with confidence, hands steady, even as sparks flew and alarms blared. The engineers watched him with growing admiration, realizing that this human was not reckless. He was disciplined, intelligent, and calm under pressure. Serena observed silently, her arms crossed. She had seen countless skilled warriors, but few combined courage, intelligence, and leadership so naturally. Reed did not just fix the problem, he inspired those around him to act, to believe in their own abilities. Slowly, the energy shield stabilized and the danger passed. When the final connection clicked into place, the engineers cheered and the shields glowed brightly across the palace walls. Serena finally stepped forward, her expression a mixture of pride and surprise. "You have done more than repair our defenses, Captain Reed. You have earned the trust of my people. That is more valuable than victory in any duel." Reed gave a modest nod. "It was teamwork, Serena. Our people worked well together. I only helped them see what they could already do." The moment was interrupted by a sudden alert. Outside the palace, a small group of rogue Valians had attempted to breach the gardens. Reed and Serena ran to the scene, finding the intruders quickly subdued by the Queen's Guard. Reed noticed that the guards hesitated at first, unsure how to react with a human nearby. But after seeing him act decisively, they moved with renewed confidence, following his lead. Serena engaged the intruders directly, her movements precise and swift. Reed assisted by cutting off their escape routes, guiding the guards without striking unnecessarily. Within minutes, the threat was neutralized. The Queen's Guard looked at Reed with a mixture of awe and respect. He had not only survived combat, but had enhanced their efficiency, showing courage, intelligence, and respect for their ways. Later, in the palace hall, Queen Alara greeted Reed formally. "Captain Reed," she said, her tone calm but approving, "your actions today prove that humanity is capable of more than we imagined. You honor our traditions while showing innovation. That is a rare combination." Reed bowed. "I am honored to serve in any way I can, Your Majesty. I only wish to build understanding between our worlds." Serena stood nearby, watching the exchange. Her expression softened, and for the first time, she smiled genuinely. She had begun to see Reed not as an outsider, but as a warrior, worthy of respect. "Captain Reed," she said quietly, "tomorrow we will begin training exercises. Not for duels this time, but for strategy and coordination. You will learn from us, and we from you." Reed nodded eagerly. "I look forward to it. I want to understand your people fully." As the evening approached, Red walked through the palace gardens again, this time not alone. Serena joined him, walking silently at first, then speaking. "You act with honor, courage, and intelligence," she said. "These are qualities my people value above all. You have begun to earn our trust. But remember, respect is fragile. One mistake could undo everything." Reed replied, "I will not fail. Humans do not give up easily, and neither do I." Serena's eyes softened. "I believe you. You are not like other outsiders. You're different, and that makes you remarkable." The two walked side by side in silence, watching the sun dip. Below the horizon, Reed felt a sense of belonging he had not expected to feel on an alien world. The duel had been the first step, but today had shown him the true path to respect and trust, courage in action, humility, and a willingness to work alongside others. By nightfall, the palace was quiet. Reed stood on his balcony, gazing at the stars. Valera felt less like a distant alien world and more like a place where humans could belong. He thought of the duel, the shield crisis, and the rogue intruders. Each challenge had tested him, but each had also brought him closer to the people of Valera. Somewhere in the palace, Serena watched him. She had begun to see him as an ally, a warrior who respected her people, their traditions, and their honor. The duel was only the beginning. The days ahead promised even greater challenges. But one thing was certain. Captain Alex Reed was no ordinary human. On Valera, he had begun to prove that humanity's courage, intelligence, and honor could earn respect even in a world far from home. The bridge of trust had been built, and now both human and Valeran would walk it together, step by step.
The peace of Valera was shattered one morning by a sudden, distant roar. Captain Alex Reed was training with Serena and several guards when the alarm blared through the palace. A scout ran into the courtyard, panting. "Sir, multiple ships approaching from the northern sector. They are armed and moving fast." Reed's eyes narrowed. Alien ships rarely came so close without purpose. He felt a familiar rush of focus, the calm, steady determination that had guided him through duels, crises, and first contacts. He turned to Serena, who was already rallying her guards. "What do we know?" he asked. "Not much," Serena replied. Her voice was steady but tight with tension. "They come from the outer rim. They are mercenaries, likely after resources or power. The Queen is in danger. Our defenses alone may not hold." Reed nodded. "Then we fight together. Humans have a way of thinking differently, sometimes outside the usual rules." "Let me help." Serena studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Very well, human. Lead where you can, follow where you must." Within minutes, Reed and Serena reached the palace command center. The guards and engineers were already trying to prepare the palace defenses, but panic threatened to slow them down. Reed moved through the chaos with quiet authority. He instructed the engineers on rerouting energy shields to cover weaker points, and he helped the guards coordinate patrols and defensive positions. His suggestions were unconventional, mixing human strategy with Valera tactics, but they worked. Serena watched him closely. He did not simply give orders. He explained them, showing confidence and calm. She began to trust his judgment completely, something few outsiders ever earned. The first wave of enemy ships arrived, hovering above the palace walls. They unleashed energy blasts toward the main gates. Serena led the Queen's Guard into position, ready to defend. Reed joined them, taking point in a critical sector where the shields were thinnest. The battle began. Energy beams streaked across the sky, lighting the morning with bright flashes. Reed noticed patterns in the enemy attack, repeated sequences in their flight paths and firing rhythms. "Follow my lead," he shouted to the guards. "Move in formation here. Focus fire there." The guards hesitated for a fraction of a second, but then they followed his directions. Using unconventional maneuvers, they disrupted the attacker's rhythm, causing several ships to crash into the palace's outer barriers. The crowd below gasped in awe at the humans' strategy, while Serena nodded with approval, recognizing his clever mind. Reed then spotted a critical vulnerability in the enemy formation. A massive ship hovered near the palace shield generator. If it fired directly, the shields would collapse entirely. "Serena, focus your team there," he yelled. Together, Reed and the Queen's Guard targeted the ship. Using combined precision and timing, they disabled its weapons with minimal damage to the palace. As the battle raged, Reed noticed a group of guards trapped under falling debris from a minor blast. Without hesitation, he ran to them, pulling them to safety while deflecting enemy fire with energy shields he had recalibrated. Serena followed, her trust in him growing with each action. Hours passed, but the human Valyrian team held strong. Reed's unconventional thinking kept the enemy off balance. His adaptability, courage, and respect for Valyria's traditions inspired the guards to fight harder, moving beyond fear and uncertainty. Finally, the enemy ships retreated. Valyria had survived thanks to the combination of human strategy and Valyrian skill. The palace was scarred but intact. Guards and engineers alike looked at Reed with awe. He had not only fought alongside them, he had strengthened their defense with his ingenuity and bravery. Serena approached him, her expression a mixture of pride and relief. "Captain Reed," she said, her voice firm but warm, "you fought with honor, intelligence, and courage. I have seen few warriors, Valyrian or otherwise, who could match your skill. Today, you have earned the full respect of the Queen's Guard." Reed nodded, exhausted but satisfied. It was teamwork. None of us could have done it alone. Serena smiled faintly. "True, but it is rare for an outsider to earn our trust so fully. You have shown that humans are capable of more than we expected. That will be remembered." Queen Alara stepped onto the balcony, her gaze sweeping over the battlefield and then resting on Reed. "Captain Reed," she said, her voice clear and commanding, "your actions today have saved my palace and my people. You have shown humanity's courage, ingenuity, and honor. You are no longer just an outsider. You are a true ally." Reed bowed respectfully. "Your Majesty, it is an honor to serve. I only wish to help build trust between our worlds." Serena placed a hand lightly on his shoulder, a gesture of both camaraderie and respect. "Tomorrow, training will resume," she said. "But you will be more than a student. You will be our partner." That evening, the palace was quiet. Guards patrolled with renewed confidence, engineers checked the shields, and citizens whispered stories of the human who had fought beside their queens. Guard. Reed stood on the balcony, looking out at the city he had begun to call home. The stars above Valyria twinkled as if celebrating the day's victory. Serena appeared quietly beside him. "You have done well," she said softly. "Today, you were more than a human visitor. You were a warrior, a strategist, and an ally. You have earned my trust, Captain Reed." Reed smiled. "Thank you, Serena. But I could not have done it without your guidance and the skill of your people." She nodded, her eyes reflecting the distant stars. "Perhaps, together, humans and Valyrians can accomplish things neither of our peoples could alone." Reed felt a surge of hope. Today, he had proven humanity's value not just in duels or diplomacy, but in action. Valyria had seen that humans could adapt, think creatively, and fight with honor. Serena's salute, though small, had become a symbol of a bond forming between worlds. As the night settled over the palace, Reed knew this was only the beginning. Greater challenges would come, and he would face them alongside Serena and the Queen's Guard. But one thing was clear. Humans had a place on Valera, and they would earn respect. One battle, one act of honor at a time. The bridge between two. Worlds had grown stronger, and now, humans and Valerans would face the future together, ready for whatever threats might come from the stars. The palace of Valera was calm the morning after the attack, but the air was thick with tension. Captain Alex Reed walked through the halls alongside Serena, observing the aftermath. Guards were repairing minor damages, engineers recalibrated. The shields and citizens whispered about the events of the previous day. Reed could see that the human presence had already changed the palace. People looked at him not with suspicion, but with cautious admiration. Queen Alara had summoned Reed for a formal audience. He stepped into the throne room, his posture straight, his expression calm. The Queen sat on her elevated throne, her eyes bright with approval. Serena stood nearby, her armor polished and her gaze steady. Reed had come to understand her in ways no outsider could. She was more than a warrior. She was a leader, a strategist, and now an ally. "Captain Reed," Queen Alara said, her voice strong yet welcoming. "You have shown courage, intelligence, and honor. You fought alongside my Queen's Guard and my engineers. You have earned your place among us. Today, you are not merely a visitor. You are recognized as a valued ally of Valera." Reed bowed. "Your Majesty, it is an honor. I only wish to strengthen the bond between our worlds and serve." With respect and integrity, Serena stepped forward. "Your Majesty, if I may," she said, "Captain Reed's actions have inspired my guards. His courage and strategy have proven that humans are worthy of our trust. He is no longer an outsider. He is one of us." The Queen inclined her head slightly, acknowledging Serena's statement. "Then let it be known. Captain Reed shall train with the Queen's Guard, learn our ways, and share his knowledge of humanity. He shall serve as a bridge between our people." Reed's chest swelled with pride, but he remained humble. "I will not fail," he said simply. Serena nodded, her expression unreadable for a moment before softening. "Good. Tomorrow training resumes, but this time it will be more than duels or tactics. You will participate in real coordination exercises with my team." That evening, Reed joined Serena and a group of elite guards in the palace training halls. They practiced strategy simulations, coordination drills, and defensive exercises. Reed adapted quickly to Valera's methods, adding subtle human innovations. He suggested alternative formations and surprise tactics that impressed even. "Serena, you are learning fast," she said, circling him as he guided a group of guards in a simulation. "But remember, strength is not enough. Leadership, observation, and courage under pressure matter equally." Reed smiled. "I understand. Humans survive by adapting, but we also respect traditions. I will honor yours as I continue to learn." The days passed. Reed and Serena formed a bond built on mutual respect. She began mentoring him in Valera's martial techniques, correcting his movements and teaching him subtle tactics that only decades of training could produce. In return, Reed shared human approaches to improvisation and strategy, showing how unexpected thinking could outmatch even the most disciplined opponent. Outside the palace, a smaller threat emerged. A group of mercenary scouts tried to infiltrate the city. Reed and Serena led a combined team of humans and Valeran guards to intercept them. Using Reed's innovative strategies and the guards' elite training, they quickly subdued the intruders. The citizens cheered, witnessing the effectiveness of humans and Valerans working together. Back in the palace, Serena finally saluted Reed. Formally, for the first time, a gesture she had reserved only for the most honorable warriors. Reed returned the salute, understanding its significance. It was not merely a sign of respect. It was a symbol of trust, friendship, and shared honor. Guards who had once whispered about him now looked to him with admiration, seeing a human who could fight, lead, and inspire. Queen Alara observed the growing bond between Reed and her guards. She knew that the events of the past week had proven something important. Humans were not weak or untrustworthy. They had courage, intelligence, and honor, qualities that Valera valued above all else. By working together, humans and Valerans could achieve far more than either could alone. Reed spent the evening walking through the palace gardens with Serena. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with shades of pink and gold. "Captain Reed," Serena said softly, "you have changed more than you realize. My guards speak of you with respect. My people trust you, and I have learned to value your presence, not just as an ally, but as a friend." Reed nodded, appreciating her words. "That means a lot, Serena. I never expected to find such trust or friendship so quickly, but your people have taught me much about honor, courage, and tradition. I feel connected here in a way I did not expect." Serena's gaze drifted to the palace towers. "This bond is fragile, but it is worth protecting. Together, humans and Valerans can face anything. You have earned my respect, Captain Reed. Never forget it." Reed smiled, feeling a sense of pride and purpose he had not felt in a long time. The challenges of Valera were far from over, but he knew he was not alone. With Serena and the Queen's Guard by his side, humanity could prove itself in this world, and beyond. As night fell, the palace quieted. Guards patrolled with renewed confidence. Citizens whispered tales of the human who had fought alongside their protectors, and Reed stood on the balcony, gazing at the stars above. Each twinkle reminded him that humanity was capable of courage, intelligence, and honor, qualities that had earned him trust, friendship, and a place in a world far from home. The salute Serena gave him was no longer a simple gesture. It had become a symbol of respect earned through courage, actions, and shared honor. It reminded Reed that humans could rise above fear, skepticism, and doubt. They could inspire trust and friendship wherever they went. The next days promised training, diplomacy, and new challenges. Reed was ready. With Serena and the Queen's Guard, he knew humans and Valerans could face whatever came their way, united by courage, trust, and honor. And so, humanity's story on Valera continued, one of respect, friendship, and the beginning of a true alliance, built on action, honor, and unwavering courage. The horizon of Valera glowed with the light of approaching ships. Captain Alex Reed stood on the palace balcony alongside Serena, watching the distant silhouettes. This was no ordinary threat. An armada from a distant star system had set its course for Valera. The Queen's Guard was ready, but even they looked tense. Reed knew that this challenge would test not just skill, but courage, strategy, and the bond between humans and Valerans. Queen Alara appeared beside them, her calm gaze fixed on the approaching fleet. "Captain Reed," she said, "we face a threat unlike any before. Your wisdom, courage, and strategy are needed. Will you lead with us?" Reed straightened. "I will do everything I can, Your Majesty. Humans fight for honor, and we will stand with you." Serena placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then let us show them the strength of Valerans and humans together." The command center buzzed with activity as Reed joined the Queen's Guard and engineers. The alien armada moved with precision, but Reed noticed patterns, repetitions, slight flaws, and predictable attack formations. "We can use their predictability against them," he said. "Divide their fleet, confuse them, and hit their weak points. But we must act together. Guards and engineers, follow my plan exactly." Serena nodded. All units, listen carefully. Captain Reed's strategy will guide our actions. Trust him as you trust your own instincts. Energy shields hummed, defensive turrets aligned, and patrol ships prepared to intercept the enemy. Reed coordinated with human and Valyrian teams, giving orders that were unconventional but precise. He suggested using decoy drones, redirecting energy flows, and combining strike teams in unexpected patterns. The guards hesitated at first, unsure of these new ideas, but Serena's presence reassured them. The battle began. Energy beams streaked across the sky as the enemy fired upon the palace. Reed's strategy worked almost immediately. Enemy formations split under the pressure of combined attacks. The Valyrian guards struck with precision, and Reed's human tactics added unpredictability that the enemy could not counter. Serena fought alongside him, her movements a blur of skill and power. Reed watched her closely, anticipating her moves, and coordinating with her seamlessly. Together, they became a force neither side could ignore. Guards and citizens watched in awe as the human and Valyrian team disrupted the armada again and again. During a critical moment, a massive enemy ship broke through the perimeter, heading straight for the palace's main shield generator. Reed and Serena moved instantly. "Follow me!" Reed shouted, leading a squad to intercept. Using combined strategy and speed, they disabled the ship's weapons and forced it back. Serena's precise strikes and Reed's innovative tactics saved the generator from destruction. Every part of the palace defense relied on coordination. Reed adjusted energy flows, redirected shield power, and gave orders in real time, often running to vulnerable points himself. Guards who had once doubted him now moved with confidence, following his commands as if he were one of their own. Hours passed. The Armada's attacks grew desperate, but Reed's strategy held. The enemy began to retreat, disorganized and defeated. Valyria had survived, and the human-Valyrian alliance had proven itself in the most dangerous of circumstances. The Queen's Guard gathered in the courtyard, cheering and celebrating their victory. Serena approached Reed, saluting him formally. This was no ordinary salute. It was a gesture of complete respect and trust, a recognition that Reed was now part of Valyria's warrior tradition. Reed returned the salute, feeling the weight and honor of the gesture. Queen Alara stepped onto the balcony, her presence commanding yet warm. "Captain Reed," she said, her voice carrying across the courtyard, "today you have shown that humans are courageous, intelligent, and honorable. You have fought alongside my people and proven that our alliance is strong. Valyria owes you a debt that cannot be measured in words alone." Reed bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, it was an honor to fight beside your people. Humans respect Valyria and its traditions. We will continue to stand with you, in peace or in battle." Serena placed a hand on his shoulder. "Captain Reed," she said softly, "you have done more than survive a duel or lead in crises. You have earned our trust, our respect, and our friendship. Together, humans and Valyrians are unstoppable." The palace guards cheered, and citizens in the streets raised their voices in celebration. Reed could see the change in Valyria. A world that had once doubted humanity now accepted them as allies, capable and honorable. Later, as the sun set over the Crystal Towers, Reed and Serena walked through the palace gardens. "You've changed more than you realize, Captain," Serena said. "Your courage, intelligence, and honor have inspired my people. Humans have earned a place here, and you have earned my personal respect." Reed smiled. "Thank you, Serena. It means a lot coming from you. I have learned much from you and your people. I have seen that honor, courage, and respect are universal. They cross worlds." Serena's gaze softened. "And perhaps humans are stronger than we ever imagined. You remind us that courage and intelligence can overcome even the greatest odds." Reed looked up at the stars above Valera, their light reflecting in the palace towers. "This is only the beginning. There will be more challenges, more threats, but I know we can face them together. Humans and Valerans, stronger together." Serena nodded, a small smile on her face. "Yes, and every time we meet I will salute you, Captain Reed, not as a formality, but as a symbol of honor, respect, and trust." Reed returned the salute, feeling the pride and purpose of a human recognized across the stars. He realized that the duels, the battles, and the moments of trust had not only earned him respect, they had shown the galaxy the strength of humanity. As night fell, the palace was peaceful again. Guards patrolled with confidence, engineers monitored the shields, and citizens whispered tales of the human who had faced impossible odds and earned the respect of the Queen's Guard. Reed stood on the balcony looking out at the stars, feeling a sense of belonging he had never known. The story of Captain Alex Reed on Valera had reached its peak, but its legacy would last. Humans had proven themselves capable of honor, courage, and intelligence, and they had gained a place among the stars as allies, warriors, and friends. The salute of Serena, leader of the Queen's Guard, had become a lasting symbol. It represented respect earned, trust built, and the bond between two worlds united against any threat. Humanity had arrived on Valera, not as outsiders, but as equals, ready to face the future together. And so, under the twin moons of Valera, Captain Alex Reed looked to the sky and smiled. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again.